begun.
The road to $10,000 runs through the Richmond International Raceway. This is round number 5 of 16 on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. And gentlemen, it's our first stop at a short track for this 2015 campaign. Tim Terry, Tony Stevens, Joe Cortez ready to bring you through 200 laps at Richmond. And let's get going with our starting grid. And on the pole, it's going to be our pole sitter, or our point leader, Kenny Humpy in the 58. The Peak Antifreeze car, 20.248. To the outside, his teammate, the 27, Cody Bias.
Matt Busa rolls off on the inside of row number 2 into his outside. Another two-time former series champion, that is Ray Alfala.
Not to mention one-time winner here at Richmond International Raceway. Let's go down to row number 3, where two guys who haven't won here before will start 5th and 6th. The 74 of Taylor Hurst on the inside, the 36 of Justin Bolton on the outside.
Two guys looking for their first career wins in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. The 38 of Ryan Lowe to the outside. It's the TimsCorner.ca 13 of Brad Mahar.
Corey Vincent pilots car number 10 from position number 9, and TJ Sturgis, solid top 10 run. He'll bring the 57 to the flag in 10th.
On the inside of row number 6, the 15 of Patrick Crabtree starts 11th. Chris Overland, the 47 machine double clutch HDRN Chevrolet starts position number 12.
Row 7 is stout. Chad Lawton in the number 26 rolls off 13th to the outside. Two-time winner here, Nick Ottinger in the 05.
Good to see Nick Ottinger back. Under the weather tonight, we'll talk more about that a little later. Casey Tucker in the 28, he starts 15th, and Nate Wise in the 24 is 16th.
Benjamin Burmeister, the 66, will start position number 17. On the outside of him, the 83 of Thomas Davis, 18th.
Kevin King in the 29 rolls off in 19th to the outside. The Segpay Ford is Danny Hansen.
Brandon Schmidt in car number 3, and Brian Blackford in the double 3. The 33 start in row number 11.
Row number 12 belongs to 54, Brandon Bowie on the inside. The 77 of Andy Faye Ash III on the outside.
We got the 44th driver in the point standings, Brad Davies in the 11, Timu Ivonen in the 99.
Brian Day in the Plan B Sales Toyota, he starts 27th, and David Rattler in the 09, 28th.
Rob Ackley, Alex Warren will start row number 15.
Got Alan Bowes and Byron Daly the next row.
Trey Eidson, the number 6, and Tyler Laughlin, the 51. That's row number 17.
Michael Johnson, Tyler Hill, the 39 and 9 respectively, will start behind them.
The Flam, number 89, Landon Harrison, and the 01 to the outside, Tyler Hudson.
New sponsorship for this gentleman, Michael Conti, the defending series champion. He's going to have to dig tonight from 39th, and Adam Gilliland in the 8 starts 40th.
3 veterans start at the end of the field. Jake Sturgis, Brian Schoenberg, Stephen Gilbert round out your field of 43 tonight for 200 laps at the 3/4 mile D-shaped oval of Richmond International Raceway.
With Stephen Gilbert at the back, Kenny Humpy at the front, it's the team bookend at this Richmond International Raceway. Pace car off, and Humpy's gone. Green flag flies. We are underway, and what a flying start for that number 58, the 27 of Cody Bias, going to fall into position number 2, and Matt Busa will find his way into 3rd. Alfala and Bolton single file through your top 5.
Very quickly, Kenny Humpy found his way to the peak of the scoring pylon, and already he has opened up about 3 car lengths over the rest of the field. And guys, this really is not much of a surprise. Kenny Humpy has been dominant all season long, and a lot of people pointed to him and the rest of the team as being dominant forces here at Richmond. So far, it looks like much has not changed from the first 4 races, Joe. It's still the team that you're going to have to beat.
The team is definitely the team to beat tonight. We'll get more into that and their new partnership with the Antifreeze just a little bit right now. The first battle on track is between the 26 and 57 machine. That's Chad Lawton fighting for position number 12. He will get around PJ Sturgis, and now your entire field single file for the most part on lap number 3.
And there's a driver that started a lot worse than he wanted to. Chad Lawton in the number 26 moves up, as you mentioned, to position number 11. And he was the winner the last time that we covered this series 2 weeks ago. He and Nick Ottinger back there just outside the top 10, Tony. I believe those are 2 drivers that you really have to watch to try to rebound from their qualifying effort.
You really do. Chad Lawton being one of them because of the fact that he has been so fast every time they've unloaded that car in the virtual racetrack this season. Also, Nick Ottinger. Interesting story with Ottinger. We obviously did not see him at Texas. Was suspended due to incidents from previous races, but tonight Ottinger's playing a little bit hurt. Under the weather is an understatement. I've heard he was battling what he thought was almost bird flu or something of that nature. He is not anywhere close to 100%, but said, I am not missing Richmond. My teammates need me, my sponsors need me, and I've got something to prove. So Nick Ottinger driving, well, shall we say, motivated more than usual here tonight, Joe.
Yeah, but if there's a guy who can threaten to win this race under any condition, it is Nick Ottinger. In the 5 times we've come here to Richmond, he has won this race 4 times. In fact, the last 2 times we've come here, he has won this race. So, Nick Ottinger knows what he's doing around this track. He knows how to control this track, and if anybody can win it, it's a guy driving the Ream 05 Toyota Camry tonight.
And he's about to pick up a position here on the 10 of Corey Vincent if he can hustle his way down to the inside. It's Sturgis on the inside of the 10, and now Ottinger will move there as well. Crabtree got that 10 off the inside line at position number 9 and moved that 15 up 1 more position, and moves Chad Lawton into the top 10 at this point. Up front, Kenny Humpy has a 1-second lead over Cody Bias. Ray Alfala has moved to position number 3. Matt Musa holding on to 4th, but Justin Bolton trying to get around him in position at number 5, and they have Taylor Hurst tagging along in that battle. There's a name that we really haven't talked a whole lot about early in this season, Tony. Taylor Hurst, and you can add Ryan Lowe to the mix as well. There's 2 drivers in the top 10 that got a really good qualifying effort.
And qualifying is key at Richmond, Tim. It's all about track position because it is very, very hard to pass on this 3/4 mile T-shaped bull ring. Drivers love it, teams love it. It's a fun racetrack, but one fact still remains. It's very difficult to pass a lot of guys very quickly here compared to some places, and it makes it a lot harder to make sure that car is, well, shall we say, scuffed and marked free at the end of the night. Because of the close quarters racing, Joe, you're going to nick it up, you're going to bend it up at some point if you have to start in the back and move forward. Not the ideal place. It has been done, but it's much, much easier to start up front, like Kenny Humpy, Cody Bias, Ray Alfala, and those that are up there now.
Well, Tony, it's like we were at Richmond, or not Richmond, but Bristol last week for NASCAR iRacing night here on fanschoice.tv and iRacing Live. It's all about track position. It is a track that demands track position. If you are good, if you have a fast car, you will do well, especially if you can qualify towards the front. If you can't, it's not saying you can't do it, but you do have a whole lot of obstacles. Not only do you have the short track, the 14-degree turns here in Richmond that are going to contend against you, but just a sheer amount of traffic between you and the front that's going to hurt you as you try to climb the salmon ladder all the way to the front. Can it be done? Plausibly, but not probably.
Justin Bolton took a position away from Matt Moose on that exchange. The 34 now falling back in the clutches of the 74. Just in front of them, the battle for position number 2 beginning to heat up. Ray Alfala moving up on Cody Bias. And Tony, we talked about the domination of the team in the last few weeks. It seems like the only driver that's really had anything consistently for those drivers in the last couple of weeks has been the 2-car of Ray Alfala. And Joe mentioned it already. He's won here back in 2011. I know he wants to get back into victory lane. And it's looking pretty sporty right now in that Vision of Flight Ford.
He is looking sporty. And remember, Ray has won here before if memory serves, so he knows how to get the job done here at the Richmond International Raceway. And we're still very early. 15 laps complete of 200. Ray knows as well as anybody this is a very long race, and it's starting to look kind of like last year's event, Joe, where the first half of the race played out nearly caution-free, very little incidents, and then the second half of the race, oh boy, it was the tale of 2 halves.
Yeah, we had just mentioned that, Tony, that Ray had won here before. Thanks for reminding us, though. It was actually April 26th, 2011. Ray Alfala won the 6th race of the season here at Richmond International Raceway on the road to what would be one of his 2 championship seasons. So yes, you do have a very talented field up front, and it's certainly starting to show, especially as Ray Alfala tries to continue to make moves on Cody Bias. You see them now nose to tail, the team versus the slip angle driver, side nose to tail as they continue to run here. But you're absolutely right. going back to your point, Tony, which was a very astute observation, everyone's playing it very smooth right now. Everyone's playing it cool. You don't need to show your cards in the first 100 laps. Save the card playing and the chess games for the next 100.
Let's see if we can look at the pedal cam on Michael Johnson on the number 39. This is a pretty neat looking angle that you'll see here. These guys are working the throttle and the brake as we have Ray Alfala moving position number 2 on the 27 of Cody Bias. Michael Johnson works from position number 31 in the middle of a pack right now involving the number 5 of Michael Conti and the 77 of Andrew Fayash III. Michael Conti with the new peak colors this week as well, and he runs all the way back in position number 29. And Tony, we talked about the team being the team to beat so far, Ray Alfala being a driver that is in the contention at the end of these races. It seems like the Drill Isle team is on the opposite end of the scale. Guys like Schoenberg and Conti and Daly, Lewandowski, Davies, the last couple of weeks, it seems like it's been a struggle for them.
They're drilling a hole in their own head, Tim. That's exactly what they're doing right now. They are so frustrated with how their cars have had no speed. And I know for a championship winner like Conti, that has got to be the most frustrating thing ever. Same for his teammates who are just as competitive as he is, Byron Daly and others. They've got to find some speed. And they were tweeting earlier and talking to us before we went on air and said, this is not going to be a good night. This might not work very well at all. In fact, you look at the running order, the top Drill Isle driver is Danny Hansen, all the way up to 19th right now after starting 20th. So they've certainly got to find some screws and drill the hole a little bit bigger and try to drill them in, because something is amiss at Team Drill Isle. And Joe, the good news for them, it's early in the season. The bad news for them, it's a short season. You've got to get the ship righted and get it righted quickly if you want to contend for a title.
Well, not like that, though, Tony, but Richmond is one of those races that racetracks, I should say, that drivers absolutely love or drivers absolutely hate. Adam Gilliland, Aftermath Motorsports, tweeting out just a few moments ago that Adam Gilliland saying he's lacking drive off the turns, making it a little harder for him. And then you have guys like Byron Daly, who earlier tonight said he just doesn't have the car underneath him to make it work. So, again, this is a track that you either love it, you drive as hard as you can because you know and you drive on a short track racing, or you don't like it because short track.
There's another team that's struggling, as you mentioned, Aftermath Motorsports. Alex Warren, I believe, is the top running driver on that team right now, and he's running 32nd. He's won a race at Richmond before in the Pro Series. Adam Gilliland won a caution-free race in the Pro Series a couple seasons ago, and Teloff, I believe it was, last year won at Richmond. They have a lot of success at this racetrack, Tony. Obviously, different rules package with this current race car, but they love this racetrack. They know how to get around it, but they are struggling as well. You add Trey Idson to that list as well on that team, and he sits back there in 35th. Tyler Hill is 39th. Teloff, Adam Gilliland, back 40th and 41st. So they're struggling a little bit here this evening as well, and a lot of former Pro Series winners at Richmond on that team.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys, Tim, with that experience. Like you said, it's one of those deals that you're trying to figure this thing out. Mind you, we've had a rule change the last few weeks, and I wonder how much of this has to do with the rule change. I mean, guys got used to a certain feel, a certain amount of horsepower, and this series is not anything like or unlike the Sprint Cup series, where we've heard drivers express their frustration. Remember, it was Tony Stewart, I think, at Las Vegas, that was caught on the radio saying, yeah, if I wanted to drive an Xfinity Series car, I would drive an Xfinity Series car. Did not suit his style. He's, of course, learned to adapt to what these cars now need in order to go fast. But, Joe, it's just the same. New rule package, you basically have to completely relearn how to drive a race car. And it's not a matter of just changing the tire or changing a little bit of downforce. I mean, when that happened, you completely changed the race car. 100 and some horsepower and a bunch of downforce. You really have a completely different package you've got to figure out how to master.
Well, that is the really neat thing and the really frustrating thing for drivers in the iRacing service. The good news is this sim, just like real life, is dynamic. It's always changing. It's always going to be something different. It's always responding to what the real world is which is great. It's great. It's good competition, and it creates a new level of competition for each of these drivers out here. But if you're one of those drivers who suffers from that, who struggles with that, then it gets frustrating. Then that's when you start. Then race, that's where it starts to get a little bit more challenging. That's where it blurs the line between just a video game and a racing tool, a simulation tool, a training tool. And for most of these guys, I'll give you a hint, they no longer view it as just a video game. This is their training tool. This is as close to the real deal as they're going to get. Or in some cases, in a couple of these guys' cases, it's just a starting point to where they want to.
In the case of training tool, Joe, the 34 of Matt Busa is going to have to learn to defend because he's got the freight train starting to line up behind him. He's got Taylor Hurst, Patrick Crabtree, Chad Lawton, Ryan Lowe, PJ Sturgis, and not too far behind him, Brad Mahar, and about 4 other cars starting to line up behind the number 34 of Matt Busa. Taylor Hurst has been chasing this car, Tony, for the last 10, 15 laps or so, looking for a way by, but as he looks for a way by, everybody else has caught them in the process. That is your battle for 5th, all the way back about 10 positions or so.
And there's a lot of guys in that group that are getting better as the run goes on. And in fact, High Performance Motorsports, the Patrick Crabtree team, just tweeted, running P7, the car is pretty good. Let this run go green. And now Busa, we see, gets bypassed by Taylor Hurst, and here comes Patrick Crabtree in the 15. And all this happening under hashtag #InPass on Twitter. If you want to keep tabs on all the inside information going on amongst teams and drivers, that is the one you need to follow on Twitter tonight, is hashtag #InPass, where we get all the inside information that we use here on the broadcast. And look at Matt Busa going the wrong way, Joe. Stuck on the outside of the racetrack, only 37 laps into the run. This is not good news for 34 cars.
Not particularly, no, as the freight train gets ready to start making the big moves around the track. So far, nobody down a lap just yet. I've got a feeling that's about to change as the 58 of Kenny Humpy starts stalking that number 83 machine of Landon Harrison. Only one driver starting parking tonight. That was the 37 of Stephen Gilbert. Check that, Stephen Gilbert still on track, albeit 22 laps down, as now the 58 gets around the 89 of Landon Harrison. Landon Harrison becomes the first car 1 lap down tonight.
And Stephen Gilbert will officially pull it into the garage area. Gilbert done for the evening. He's been having some internet issues on his end, and the last couple of weeks, we saw it last week as well, Tony, where Stephen Gilbert was struggling with his connection. So tough break for Stephen Gilbert. He'll finish 43rd here this evening as he is retired from the event. Landon Harrison, as Joe mentioned, 1 lap down. And next up on the list for Kenny Humpy would be T-Loff, Adam Gilliland, Tyler Hill, Byron Daly, Trey Eidson, and Rob Ackley. So about the half of the Aftermath Motorsports team and Byron Daly would be next on the list. Position number 5 is what we're looking at right now, and that is continuing to be Patrick Crabtree. And Crabtree makes that move on the 74 Taylor Hurst. Now the question is, can Crabtree pull away? Is he one of these race cars that has been getting better on this long run?
Well, according to Twitter, Tim, that's exactly the case. He wants this race to go green. He wants to go 100-plus laps and try to run down Kenny Humpy, Ray Alfala, Cody Bias and company. Although at this rate, Crabtree might be best suited for second, best in class. Kenny Humpy has a 3-second advantage over the rest of the field. We've only completed 42 laps, and that 58 car is hauling the mail. Holy cow, somebody put the peak performance under the hood on that one.
Funny you should mention that with Ray Alfala, or I'm sorry, Kenny Humpy. Kenny Humpy, one of 2 drivers joining the peak Antifreeze Motorsports, virtual motorsports team, I should say. Kenny Humpy and Michael Connie both joining peak Antifreeze with tonight's race, and will be displaying their colors throughout the 2015 season. So congratulations to both Kenny Humpy and Michael Conti on joining the peak team. When they say when you peak, you win, well, Kenny Humpy wants to prove that to be true tonight.
And up front, Kenny Humpy continues to lead this event, and he's got a whole lot of lap traffic in front of him. The 8 of Adam Gilliland and the Gary Mercer Trucking number 8, and Tyler Hill and the Timmy Hill Motorsports number 9 directly in front of your leader, former winner at Richmond, Adam Gilliland, will go 1 lap down here to the 58 of Kenny Humpy. So that team struggling a little bit and hoping for a caution flag to possibly throw some adjustments at those race cars.
And I think hoping is probably an understatement right now, Tim. They're praying, they're begging, they're doing anything they can to attempt to get one within legal means, because They are just struggling at this point, already closing in on 1/4 distance. 47 laps will be complete this time. And while we watch Kenny Humpy slice through traffic, Joe, you talked about Kenny Humpy and Michael Conti, both on the Peak team. Tyler Hudson sported the Peak Antifreeze colors some last year, but he was not officially part of Team Peak. Well, that also has changed. Hudson now officially part of Team Peak. Of course, you remember Hudson, after winning the 2013 championship, was invited to the Peak Stock Car Dream Challenge #2. And guess what? He made it to the final 3. He, one other iRacer, as well as Christian Payhood. Payhood ended up winning the contest, won the K&N Pro Series race out at in California, and certainly that was a great success, no doubt. And I know they've got great things planned for that coming up in this season, for that matter, where we talked to Brian Emmerich at the start of the year, and he said he's got some new ideas up his sleeve, but certainly they plan on something similar to that being back from what we were told. So that should be fun to see how that all turns out.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it just goes to show you how this has evolved from a video game to a training tool and now a simulation tool that drivers are using to prepare themselves for that next level of success, not only in NASCAR, but at the short tracks across the United States in cars of multiple levels and multiple skill requirements. Now, if you want to get involved, we've got a deal for you. Go to iRacing.com if you're a first-time subscriber. When you use our promo code PR-2015 PSRTV, we'll give you 2 months free when you buy 1 month of the iRacing service. Plus, we'll throw in the late model as well, so you can get yourself started on some oval racing in the iRacing simulation. First-time subscribers only. Go to iRacing.com, use our promo code, buy 1 month, get 2 free, and get the late model on us. Tell them the PSR TV gang sent you.
We work lap number 53 here at the Richmond International Raceway. The leader at least does, as Trey Eidson goes 1 lap down, as Kenny Humpy leads Ray Alfalla by nearly 3 seconds. And Tony, I don't know how much you talked to some of these teams about pit strategy, but I talked to crew chief Jordan Hightower on the Landon Harrison crew, and Landon said he's going to at least lap 100. This is a one-stop race if this thing goes green for the duration. And Landon is typically one that saves a little bit of fuel. Have you heard anything else from any other teams?
Really haven't. They've been somewhat mum, and I think probably because it's not going to be a huge issue, Tim. I think you can easily go 100 laps here on fuel. That's about 75 miles. It's going to put you pretty close, but you should be able to make it on one stop if everything plays out according to plan. So don't anticipate anybody doing any sort of crazy strategy unless we get a caution in the next 30 laps or so, to maybe make somebody short pit, do something different, try to work their way up to the front of the field. Oh, problems! We've got trouble front straightaway. It looks like the number 82 car of Alex Warren has gone around, and in fact, it will bring out the caution just past the halfway point. Alex Warren in the 82 brings out the first caution of the night here at Richmond.
Just past the quarter-way point there, Tony, but thanks for playing. Alex Warren, the 82 machine, getting loose out of turns 3 and 4. There you go, halfway through a pit run. Alex Warren gets loose coming off of turn number 4, right at the start-finish line. He is going to turn it into the grass, and they're afraid he's going to come back on track. So in the abundance of caution, they will throw the caution flag for the first time tonight. And there goes your theory about one pit stop, because now they can probably make it all the way, but I don't know that they're going to want to. Let's put it that way. Pit stops should be coming around this time by.
We'll see what Kenny Humpy does on this stop. The Peak Antifreeze best overhead doors, number 58, coming on to pit road and leading a majority of the field down. I think everybody that's staying out here is a lapped down vehicle. And Tony, the advantage for Kenny Humpy as he comes down, look at the advantage that he has in real estate between himself and Ray Alfalla. A decent pit stop here should put him back out front.
They could take a 4-way wrench and change at least 2 of the tires, and he would still come out the leader. That's how big of an advantage Kenny Humpy has coming down pit road from all the lap traffic between himself and Ray Alfalla. Order of the day on every car appears to be 4 virtual Goodyear Racing Eagles and a tank of virtual Sunoco fuel. And yes, Kenny Humpy does, in fact, win the race off the pit lane, followed by Ray Alfalla. Then Patrick Crabtree in third. He leapfrogs up a couple of spots. Justin Bolton and Cody Bias will round out the first 5 off the pit lane, Joe.
Cody Bias, not sure if it's a bad stop or bad positioning for him. Nonetheless, he will lose 2 positions as a result, and a car that was already struggling is going to struggle a little bit harder when we go back to green flag racing.
Let's take a little pit stop here, and we'll bring you back to some more racing. The Peak Antifreeze series, powered by iRacing, has the Peak Antifreeze car in the lead position. Kenny Humpy leads. Don't go away.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this.
I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Peak can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
In the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy. Welcome back to the Richmond International Raceway. We are about to go back green flag racing in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series. What a start by Kenny Humpy. Green flag flies, and we're back underway. The 2 of Ray Alfala in second, and Patrick Crabtree gets a great start to preserve that 3rd place position, Tony, that he got on pit road.
A couple of adjustments for the Crabtree bunch, and he did leapfrog 2 spots. Good news if you're a fan of the number 15, and behind him, it's starting to become a hornet's nest. Chad Lawton is there, Taylor Hurst, Ryan Lowe. That's a good 4 or 5 car tussle as they cross-start finish back in turn number 1. The battle for 5th on back. Now give that one to Taylor Hurst as he gets by Cody Bias on the inside. Again, Bias not wanting to give up that spot, but he is forced to on the outside. And whoa, hello, Lawton way up the racetrack, Joe. It's getting a little hot and heavy back here from about 5th through 12th.
Yeah, Chad Lawton made contact with the back of the 27 to Bias
Trouble.
and caution out for the 2nd time tonight.
Looks like problems over in turns 3 and 4. Didn't see exactly who it was. Maybe I think actually the 6 of Trey Eidson. Yes, Trey Eidson in turns 1 and 2, bringing out the caution, it appears. Not sure what happened. That car just came to a stop like it locked up. Something in the drivetrain would be going askew, but Trey Eidson looks like his day is done. Maybe a internal shot, well, pretty much an internal lockup, if you will, Joe, on the virtual engine, which is his computer. Piece of hardware failing on the Trey Eidson machine.
Yeah, piece of hardware failing on an Eidson machine, so he comes to a complete stop right at the apex of the turn, and that is going to be the end of his night. So Trey Eidson brought out by a mechanical issue, and just like at the track, guys, that can happen to anybody out there.
Yeah, one of his crew members saying that his screen froze, so that's why Trey Eidson had the issue. He has fallen out of the server, so as Tony mentioned, some sort of hardware issue on his end, bringing out the caution flag here for the 2nd time this evening. And Kenny Humpy and Ray Alfala will once again lead us back to the green flag. And there's Patrick Crabtree, as we mentioned, sitting in position number 3 right now. 6th place in the point standings. Had a great run at Daytona, Tony. The last 3 races, has been fairly quiet compared to his run at the Daytona International Speedway, and now sitting in position number 3. Is this a race that these guys could possibly turn this thing around?
I think so, Tim. And of course we say, oh, he's been quiet, but I mean, Crabtree led the standings for all of 3 races. I mean, he led after Daytona, he led after Vegas, and if memory serves me, he led after Auto Club, albeit by maybe 1 or 2 points. But he only had a couple of races that really were lackluster, and we haven't talked about him a lot because he doesn't start these races up front. Through strategy, he's able to leapfrog his way to the front, and guess what? It doesn't matter where you're running on lap 2 or lap 75 or whatever it is. It matters where you're running when the checkered flag comes out, and that's one thing Patrick Crabtree has succeeded at so far this season, Joe.
Well, you're absolutely right, and something you mentioned there, it's not about where you're at during the middle of the race. The only real thing that matters at the end of the day is where you're at on at the end of lap number 200, and that's ultimately what determines the winner of the race. So everybody, especially Crabtree, very, very aware of that, and it's right now just a matter of patience. It's a matter of timing. It's a matter of getting ready to make that move when the move is right.
Some of those drivers that have been struggling off the start of this season. We mentioned earlier that Brad Davies, series veterans, won a few races in this series. He's 44th in the point standings with 37 points. Compare that to Kenny Humpy up front with 170 points. One driver not on the racetrack this evening, gentlemen, is Thomas Lewandowski. He sits in 39th in the point standings. Davies was the lowest driver coming in points that has made all 4 starts in this series this season. Brian Schoenberg trying to right the ship this season for that number 55 team. He's currently running right now in position number 29. Davies is in position number 24. Danny Hansen, we mentioned him earlier, the top running drill aisle car earlier in this race, and I believe he still is in 17th place. He's moved up a little bit. But some of those drivers, Tony, early in the season struggling, and it doesn't look like the ship has been completely righted here at Richmond as we're beginning to double up.
No, it looks like they are still struggling a little bit, although they're trying to get it turned in the right direction. That's always all you can ask for. 69 laps going to be completed this time, guys, and I think the way things have gone today with the news that came down from Fox Sports and Steve Burns, we would be a little remiss if we didn't take a quick moment to remember Steve Burns. Obviously, the folks at Bristol Motor Speedway and Food City honored him this past weekend, and naming the Food City 500 in support of Steve Burns and Stand Up to Cancer. And, you know, Steve's one of those guys that he excelled at what all of us wish we could do and would love to do for a living, and he got to enjoy that. He got to be a family man, enjoy his time with all of his friends and colleagues, and most importantly, his family. And I know he loved this sport. Guys, let's take a couple of minutes and take in the sights and sounds of Richmond here, much as I'm sure Steve would want us to do. Godspeed, Steve. Burns strong.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the Burns family at their time of need, and I'm sure Steve would love this race here and enjoying this one. Great competition so far by these NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series competitors, and led by Kenny Humpy in car number 58. The Peak Antifreeze Best Overhead Doors number 58, Ray Alfala in the 2, the 15 of Patrick Crabtree, and the 36 of Justin Bolton. Then there's a little bit of a way back, but look who's in the top 5 now, Tony. Ryan Lowe has made his way up in the 38.
And Lowe has been fairly solid all night long. He was working his way forward before that last, or I should say before the last couple of caution flags. And now here he is inside the top 5 in that number 38. So good run for Ryan Lowe. And for a guy that wasn't that fast in practice, he did start very well. And he's proven to have a very good car on the longer run. Maybe not 1 or 2 laps very fast in the 38, but guess what? it's good on the long run. And it seems, at least so far, Joe, being good on the long run is what's going to be key here at Richmond. We might have jinxed it by saying that, but it seems like that's where the speed's going to need to be found if you want to win this race.
Well, absolutely. But I think you also touched on something very important there. This is a long-run race, especially right now. We're not even halfway yet, and we've only had 2 caution flags. So get ready for a race that's going to be a very long-form race. This race is going to be a very long-run race, and if you don't have that long-run setup, you can be fast. You can be fast quickly, but you can't be fast long-term.
Overland stuck on the outside now in car number 47. Chad Lawton made the move. His teammate Kevin King is going to try to follow him through. The sim seats number 24 of Nathan Y is going to try to come through on the inside as well. Danny Hansen, Benjamin Burmeister, Brandon Schmidt, among about the 12 or so that are in this line. Overland's trying to find a spot into line here. He's not going to find it with Danny Hansen in the 32. The Segpay 4 going to try to cash in on one more position. He might find a spot in the line, Tony, in front of his teammate Benjamin Burmeister in the 66. There's a hole, and Overland will find it in between the 32 and the 66. And Overland gives a little shot to the 32 in the middle of the corner.
Wasn't much of a hole, but it was just enough to make things happen. That's all that Chris Overland needed in that double clutch Menard Chevrolet to get into line and try to regroup the slide that he was enduring, now being scored just outside the top 15 in the 16th spot. And further behind him now, that accordion effect has allowed a few others to maybe take a shot at getting around somebody in front of him, including the 21 of Alan Bose. He was peeking out on Casey Tucker, but up ahead of them, it's getting a little racy as well. Looks like, oh, check that. That's actually Kevin King, I believe, in the middle of that. And, well, one car slow on the bottom. Is that the, let's see who that is. Check that. Well, one car, that looks like Brian Day was up there in the middle of that. He was a lap down. So Brian Day, unfortunately, having to go to plan B here tonight, and we're not talking about the sponsor.
Yeah, Brian Day still riding the apron down there. He looks like he's in a world of hurt right now, and he'll probably go another lap down as they continue to race here at Richmond International Raceway, scoring lap number 82, as really no changes through the field. Everybody's single file. Guys, they're getting ready for the long run now, and I don't blame them. That's all you can do at this juncture of the race.
Brian Day and Timu Ivonen had an issue on the racetrack. Timu just drove it into turn 3, and I don't think he could find the brake pedal. He found it on the 4, Brian Day, and now Brian Day is right behind the 99 at Timu Ivonen. So keep a half eye on this gentleman. Brian Day came down, got the damage fixed, got 4 tires in the Plan B Sales 4, and drives it in on the 99 of Timu Ivonen, and Ivonen goes up the racetrack, and can't really say that I blame Brian Day, though the officials might look at it a different way.
Tim, that was so obvious it wasn't even funny. He was faster in the 99, and quite frankly, I'm just honestly floored that he didn't flat out dump him and that Timu was able to save that car. I think Timu might have known it was coming, but props to both those guys. They've gotten the message across, apparently. Everything's even. They'll keep digging as we close in on the halfway mark, but wow, what a save by Timu Ivonen.
Let's take another look at that replay out there. You can definitely see the 4 and the 99 having some words virtually, if you will, as they chase each other all the way up the track. Not a good look for either car, guys, but, short track racing, what can you say?
And Brian Day will look to try to rebound here. He currently sits, as Joe mentioned, 3 laps down in position number 41. After that first incident, he came down pit road, got 4 tires, got the damage repaired on that Plan B Sales number 4. Runs behind the number 22 right now of Rob Ackley, and that little pack there that also involves the 55 of Brian Schoenberg. So a little bit of action here before the halfway point in this event. Your leader continues to be Kenny Humpy. It's now 1.1 seconds over Ray Alfala, Patrick Crabtree, and Justin Bolton, who run pretty snug together right now in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
That is a pretty good battle, Tim. It's a second and some behind Kenny Humpy, as we said, but it's starting to develop into a very entertaining duel. And Patrick Crabtree, just as we suspected from the team communications earlier, wants a long run, and that 15 seems to be getting better and better and better the longer we go. So the forward power underneath the hood of these second and third place cars, well, guess what? It might not be all about horsepower. It might be a little bit about handling. And at the moment, Crabtree seems to maybe have the advantage, Joe. He's closed in on Ray Alfala. It's a matter of inches. He peeked to the inside briefly, getting into turn number 3. But I think if you're going to pick an underdog here tonight, somebody we never even thought of over the course of the weeks coming up to this race, Patrick Crabtree might be a good pick the way things are turning out.
It certainly wouldn't be a bad one, except for the fact that you have in front of you a two-time champion and winner here at Richmond International Raceway, and in front of the both of them is a multi-time winner here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series and the current points leader. So when you consider those two things, Patrick Crabtree could be the underdog, as I am forced to eat my hat as he goes under the 2, and never mind. Patrick Crabtree could be the underdog to pick. He could be the dark horse tonight.
You know, we saw Ray Alfala on that first green flag run of this race get a little bit quicker as the run went on. But Patrick Crabtree, keep in mind, Tony, was back there around 5th place. He didn't have that top 3 position that he had on this last restart. I think Crabtree really starting to show what he has on the long run. Does he have enough for Kenny Humpy is the question, especially on the short run, because what we've seen here, Humpy a lot quicker than the rest of the field, at least on the short run of about 20, 30, 40 laps or so. And then once it gets a little bit further in the run, it seems like guys like Crabtree and Alfala are as quick than Kenny Humpy, but there's that gap in between there.
There's a gap, Tim, but there's not only a gap on the racetrack, there is a gap in lap times. 1 lap ago, Kenny Humpy was a full 10th quicker than anybody else in the field. Last time, about the same as Patrick Crabtree, but I think it's going to be hard pressed for anybody to find someone that can beat Kenny Humpy tonight. The only way you're going to beat Kenny Humpy, I believe, is going to be a late race restart to where you can outfox him, getting through the gears, maybe root him up out of the groove or do something like that. A issue where Kenny Humpy beats himself, such as a pit road penalty or simply a mistake on the track. Otherwise, I don't see Kenny Humpy getting beat tonight once again. That Peak car is on a rail, and it might as well not have the Peak radiator guarantee on the front. It might as well have the Peak victory lane guarantee. Anytime he unloads anymore, he's heading to victory lane.
Not so fast, my friend. As we've talked about over and over again on these broadcasts, yellows breed yellows, cautions breed cautions. And I know my friend, Mr. Yellow Flag, on Twitter, he's going to be itching to get out, especially at the end of the race. When these guys get antsy, when you've got nothing to lose, and when everything can and will happen on the track, you're going to see cautions fly. And when those cautions fly, the group's going to get bunched up once again, and that is Crabtree's prime position to strike.
The 58 of Kenny Humpy continues to lead, closing in on the 89 of Landon Harrison to try to put Landon Harrison 1 lap in the rear view mirror. Currently sitting in position number 40. Actually, it would be 2 laps because Landon already 1 lap down, the last driver on that lap right now in car number 89. So it's been a tough sled for that team so far. And Joe, you mentioned caution flags. We've gone 200 laps here caution-free. Obviously, that's not going to happen tonight. But we have seen some of these races play out at the end where there is a ton of cautions. Question is now, do we find ourselves getting to a green flag pit stop? And if so, with that caution flag happening around lap 50, lap 60 or so, when does that pit stop happen? Because, Tony, if this thing does go green for the duration, they only have to make 1 more stop.
You're exactly right, Tim. And it's not even a matter of if they have to make 1 more stop. They are going to have to make 1 more stop. Now, what might be at odds is whether you take 2 tires, 4 tires, fuel only, something along those lines to try to advance with pit strategy, depending when you choose to pit. But again, with the advantage that Kenny Humpy is opening up, I do not see anybody beating him. If he takes 4 tires, he's going to outrun them. If they take 2 tires, it's only a matter of time before he catches them. I think Kenny Humpy is going to be the man to beat here, no doubt, as we get down. Even with pit stops and that strategy coming out, I think it's a matter of running for second at this point. At least that's the way that I see it. Now that we've crossed the halfway point, 103 laps in the books. Humpy out by 2 seconds. there is nothing, it seems like, that can stop the team. Joe, there was a poll. In fact, the team was doing a giveaway on the iRacing forum earlier this week about how many laps the team would win, or would lead, excuse me. I'm surprised nobody picked 200, because at this point, that's what it is with Kenny Humpy up front. I think Tim Terry might have had 185, Joe. That's the closest thing. But at this point, I think 200 might be the number.
I knew my guess of 238 and a half was a little off. Nothing? Okay.
Well, you know.
Possible. Plausible. Not, just like anybody's chance of passing Kenny Humpy, plausible but not probable tonight. Though I'm not going to go so far to say that Kenny Humpy is going to be your winner, as we've only crossed the halfway point. I'm telling you guys, that yellow flag, that caution flag, is going to jump out and bite you when you're not even expecting it, and that, my friends, may be the deciding factor here tonight. Not to mention, as you both mentioned, we do need one more pit stop to get through this show tonight. And that pit stop, combined with the yellow flags, it's going to add a little drama.
Field working up, or the leader at least working up, on the 93 of Byron Daly and the 09 of David Rattler. Let's get a look at the pedal cam right now on the Focus Energy shot, number 93 of Byron Daly, as he works around this racetrack. And Tony, you mentioned earlier they're searching for speed, and Byron searching for a little bit of that speed right now because he's trying to stay on the 1 lap down list. If he falls 1 more lap down, he'll be 2 laps down and out of contention for a free pass, hoping for a wave around. The night just gets a little bit longer if David Rattler and the 58 get by. Rattler moves by. That is not for position. And Kenny Humpy just put that 93 car 1 more lap down to put him 2 back.
And you can see on the webcam with Byron Daly, it's kind of hard to tell because he's so focused when he's in the car. But knowing Byron, he's just frustrated, absolutely frustrated with that Focus Energy shot Toyota. Trying to find some speed, and 39th is not the place to find speed. The only place he is going is to the back and in a hurry, as Kenny Humpy dashes away like a rabbit on an adventure, and now he looks to the inside of David Rattler. Looks like Rattler going to give a fight for the lead lap spot here, Joe. He does not want to give up that position and be forced to maybe try to compete for a free pass. So David Rattler going to give Kenny Humpy a little bit of a headache as they work off turn 4 to complete lap. Well, actually, just complete, what is it, lap number 111.
Scoring lap 111 right this moment, actually, or sorry, check that out, they're scoring lap 112 this moment, and Kenny Humpy still getting a bit of a car full from David Rattler. Rattler doesn't want to give up that position, and do you blame him, guys? He's playing the caution flag game. If the caution flag comes out right now, 09 would still be on the lead lap, and go all the way back around the field instead of having to worry about getting that free pass. If Kenny Humpy passes the 09, then there's a good chance that he will pass the car in front of him, and that is the 82 of Alex Warren, and in front of him, the 54 of Brandon Bowie. So why take any chances with the free pass game when you can just win it by keeping the leader in your rearview mirror?
So keep in mind, every lap the 09 is ahead of the 58. Kenny Humpy is losing about a 10th or so a lap to Patrick Crabtree and the rest of the field. You saw him back off the bumper of the 09 of Rattler a couple of laps ago. There's now a car length or so between those 2 race cars as Kenny Humpy completes 114 into 115. It looks like he may have gained a little bit that time on Patrick Crabtree, but it was over 2 seconds, Tony. It's now down to a second and about 3/4 or so between Humpy and Crabtree as the 58 comes up at a corner number 4 this time, 115 complete, and still on the back bumper of Rattler.
And Patrick Crabtree is also in traffic now, Tim. In fact, the gap lengthened the last time by. So Kenny Humpy, while, yes, he'd love to get around David Rattler and work his way forward through the field, he's in no big hurry. He doesn't want to push the issue and put himself or anybody else in a precarious spot as they come to complete lap 116, 84 laps to go, and Kenny Humpy has run the perfect race thus far. He's sat on the pole and he's led every lap. He's not even so much as crinkled a fender or wrinkled a decal on that virtual 58 car. He wants to keep it that way. You're trying to push the issue in traffic while you're still pulling away from the rest of the field. Probably not a wise thing to do, but Kenny Humpy's no dummy. He's won a lot of races, and this is why. He's a smart racer on top of being a fast driver behind the wheel. Kenny Humpy will finally find a way around David Rattler when the time is right, but time just isn't yet, Joe.
You're absolutely right, and patience is half the game here at Richmond International Raceway. Remember, it is a very short track that has no room for forgiveness. Sort of flat front stretch, very flat back stretch, and only 14 degrees in the turns. Not a whole lot of room for racing, just like a track that we saw last week that we debated off the air may or should not be in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. That's Bristol Motor Speedway. Both these tracks have a lot of similarities with each other, and what I think was most exciting about this is in both tracks, patience is the name of the game. If you either have the patience or you don't have the patience, and those who do have the patience will be rewarded in the end. Kenny Humphrey, Patrick Crabtree, Ray Alfala, they're getting rewarded pretty well so far.
Caution out in the speedway on lap number 120 as Rattler got saved there.
Yes, he did, Tim. Rattler was getting past as the caution came out. I'm not sure you can get much luckier than that, and that's exactly what we were talking about. And it looks like Rattler, well, he got saved, but all of a sudden now he's got electrical problems. So David Rattler got saved, but then all of a sudden, looks like his night went up in smoke. So maybe he wasn't quite as lucky as we thought.
Two incidents on the track bringing out the caution flag. I'm being told the 38 was involved in one, and I was also seeing the 32 of Danny Hansen involved in one. Let's start with the 32 of Danny Hansen that brought out in my view, brought out the caution flag right around lap 119, transition to 120. Coming off of turn number 4, into that transition, onto the front stretch, not able to navigate it. Second time we've seen a driver just spin out from there, and that's going to bring out the caution flag as we get ready for more pit stops.
Question is, can Kenny Humphrey maintain his lead that he had? He'll stop in his box, perfect insofar. Right side tires going up on the peak number 58. They will opt to take 4 tires here. If this thing goes green, this should be the final pit stop of the evening. Humphrey down and away and quickly off pit road, and Crabtree going to get second. Ray Alfala third off pit road. Ryan Lowe and Taylor Hurst, your top 5. And that's one thing I was going to mention, Tony, just before we went to that caution flag. We talked about the team being so good at this racetrack and being so good these last couple of weeks. Kenny Humphrey right now the only driver of the team in the top 5.
Hard to believe when you really think about it, because that's all we've talked about, it seems like, the last few weeks. Of course, you look back and there's Chad Lawton trying to slice his way forward. Kevin King is there trying to work his way forward. And these guys aren't slouches by any means. When you look at qualifying and time trials, the entire field was separated by just a couple of tenths of a second. So it's not like they're a half a second off, Joe. I mean, they're, a couple hundredths of a second off. The field is just that tight that one little slip up or one little mistake can mean the difference between starting in first and leading every lap, or starting in 15th and trying to claw your way forward.
Well, absolutely, and as we've talked about, this is all about the track position on track. If you either control it or you don't, your top 10 all coming on back on track as the way they came onto pit road. So I think they're winning the game so far as far as track position goes.
Quick word from our marketing partners, and then we'll be back racing at Richmond. Don't go away.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. Got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Peak can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Welcome back to the Richmond International Raceway as Kenny Humpy dominated this race so far, and we are getting ready to go back to green momentarily. Humpy was the first driver off pit road as we are getting close to going racing. A couple of guys having to come down pit road, and looks like we have Tony 33 being scored in lead lap so far. So we got some drivers that are coming and going here. And ironically, Timu and Brian are nose to tail in the running order too, so that might help too.
Yeah, Timu opponent and Brian Day might be entertaining to watch once again. But I think they've said their piece, and their bumpers have made the contact they need to make, and then everything will be said and done as far as that's concerned. 125 laps complete. It'll be 126 this time by, and that leaves us with just over, or just under, I should say, 75 laps to go once we do go green, Joe. The question is, do you think anybody has anything for Humpy again? We've seen the 15 at Crabtree, and I don't know that he has anything for Humpy, but I think he's probably the best shot.
Again, probable, but not plausible. We have to, number one, wait for the officials to get this all sorted out, and then number two, we can go back to green flag racing. Now, obviously, Humpy has been strong all night. He will have the advantage, but again, I can't help but wonder how many more caution flags we're going to have this evening and how that's going to contribute to what's going to be a very entertaining night in the track.
So sorting out a scoring issue here as we work under the caution flag here on lap number 127. Kenny Humpy, Patrick Crabtree, Ray Alfalo, Ryan Lowe, and Taylor Hurst have been the top 5 on that last run. And Tony mentioned earlier, Justin Bolton, Cody Bias, they're a part of the team. They were scored in 6th and 7th the last time that we went green flag racing. Chad Lawton scored just inside the top 10. Kevin King scored just outside it. But it's not the dominance that we have seen from this team in the last couple of races. Yes, Kenny Humpy is up front, but we do have a couple of guys struggling on that team as we are still under the caution flag here as we work through lap 128.
Still under caution as we try to figure out how those two drivers up front, Brandon Bowie and David Rattler, got up there. It looks like a bit of a scoring issue that the officials are trying to work out right now. As we're under the caution flag, it's a good reminder that you too could be racing right now on the iRacing Sim. If you're a first-time subscriber to the iRacing Sim, go to iRacing.com. We've got a great deal for you. Buy 1 month of iRacing, we'll give you 2 free. You'll get 3 months of iRacing for the price of 1. Plus, not only that, we'll also throw in the late model for you as well, so you can get yourself started on some green flag racing of your own in the Oval Series. And you never know, you could ultimately see yourself here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. iRacing.com, use our promo code 2015-PR-2015 PSRTV. You see at the bottom of your screen now, I can barely keep it straight. Buy 1 month, get 2 free, and we'll throw in the late model.
Yeah, get yourself in the sim and go racing with iRacing.com. And Joe, we've had some fun doing some laps. I know I'm a short track guy. Love the super late model, love the late model stock that you're going to get with that promo. Put it on tracks like Thompson, Oxford. The list goes on and on. Love the Northeast short tracks. Love New Smyrna Speedway. You really want to get on and do some laps. I think we're ready to go green now. No, we're not. We're going to go back to caution for 1 more lap. Kenny Humpy, the 15 of Patrick Crabtree, have now assumed the top spots. And we will still be under the caution flag for at least 1 more lap. And what it looks like, gentlemen, is a scoring glitch somewhere there. David Rattler, Brandon Bowie, I believe, got the wave around, or the wave around the pace car, and they're trying to figure out where they are in the scoring lineup before we do go green. So 58 of Kenny Humpy and the 15 of Crabtree will be your top 2 when we do go back to green.
Which it looks like we're getting ready to go back to green any second now. And then, once again, we're going to have to answer the question. Yep, we're getting ready to double file them this time by. And now we get to answer that question that has been burning on everybody's mind. Does anybody have anything to answer to that number 58 of Kenny Humpy? The answer is plausibly. I'm really excited to see, though, how these caution laps, how these continual laps under the caution flag are going to affect all these drivers out here. because it will.
Let's step away for just a few moments' time while they sort everything out and get a couple of words from our promotional partners here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Kenny Humpy's your leader. Don't go away.
It's been a very long offseason. Teams have changed, sponsors have changed, colors and all, but one thing that hasn't, they like to mash the loud pedal. Green flag is out on the 2015 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season.
iRacing is the ideal platform for these broadcasts because we have the best racers, the best online racers in the world, and we have such a variety of racing, from NASCAR to Grand Prix style racing, sports car, endurance racing. We do it all.
Since 2010, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series has been the absolute pinnacle of road racing in a simulated form. Great start then by Yakoda from the front. They're packing up behind number one. They're going to be 4 wide as they come down into turn number 1 for the first time. Will they make it through that first corner? You can see them funneling through the center S's. It looks as though everyone...
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. Got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
The iRacing pace car about to head to pit road. Kenny Humpy on the hammer. Green flag flies. We're back underway at the Richmond International Raceway for round number 5 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Alfala finds second on Patrick Crabtree. Ryan Lowe going to find a spot in fourth, and then it's side by side Hurst, and here comes Bolton trying to roll the top.
Bolton trying to make something happen. Nobody's been able to make the top work so far tonight, and maybe he can be the guy that breaks that streak around Taylor Hurst on the outside. Best chance of doing it is when you've got sticker tires, and Bolton sails it off into turn number 1. Still cannot get the run to get by Taylor Hurst. However, he's fighting. He's on the right rear quarter panel, still trying to make things happen, but doesn't look like it's a winning battle. Trying to get by as well as Cody Bias, PJ Sturgis, and others. Justin Bolton might be on the slip and slide to the water hose. He is sliding backwards through this field as he is still stuck on the outside.
Still stuck on the outside, but the question is for how long as we continue to run now single file all the way through about position number 10. Matt Busa now stuck on the outside as the 13 of Brad Mahar trying to come down low. He's going to do it. Can Chris Overland do it as well? They've locked out the 34 on the outside, and when you're on the outside, there's nowhere to go at Richmond but backwards.
Yeah, Busa stuck up high behind him. Nathan Wise in the 24, stuck on the outside of Nick Ottinger in the 05. Kevin King going to try to make his way through on the 34. Busa, 24 in the fence behind them. The 3 and the 83 of Thomas Davis getting at it. We were almost 3 wide for a moment, mid-pack or so, as they get it sorted out. Benjamin Burmeister now coming to the front in the LRM Ford. A lot of guys showing their strengths here in the second half of this race.
Well, it's go time now, Tim. You're coming down to complete lap number 138. We're closing in on 60 laps to go. Almost 3/4 of the way done with this one. There's not a lot of time to spare. Only a handful of laps. Trouble nearly out of turn number 2. Watch out, Michael J. Johnson. How in the world did he hang on to that? Got a little help, and now problems in turn 3. Johnson and Schoenberger in it, and they still are scattering, and somehow everybody heads the right direction, but caution is out once again as we complete lap number 139.
And the caution flag comes out one more time. And guys, I don't want to say I told you so, but caution flag continues to come out. Cautions breed cautions. And with about 60 laps to go, plus or minus, this race could now very easily be determined by the caution flag.
Tony, looking at that replay, you mentioned the 39 started at about a lap before this all started going off, but 39 is slow on the inside line. Schoenberg drives her in, and it looked like he thought he was going to be clear by the time he got to the 39, but the 39 was still on the inside. And you mentioned everybody collects it, and we still get going, but the caution flag does fly, and it just seems like it's another thing on the list for the tough season that Brian Schoenberg has had, and it's got to turn around at some point, right?
Yeah, it does, Tim, and you're exactly right. It looked like Schoenberg thought he was going to clear the 39, or at least thought maybe the 39 would give him a little room in turn 3. That did not happen, and poor Michael J. Johnson, really just a victim there. Danny Hansen got into him, backed off to let him gather it in, the gentlemanly thing to do, to say, hey, man, didn't mean to do that. Go ahead and gather it back in, and Brian Schoenberg saw opportunity to get 3 or 4 spots in a hurry, and unfortunately ends up with him getting 3 or 4 flat spots in a hurry on those tires, and that means he'll be to pit road, as is Danny Hansen, as well as the 39 of Michael J. Johnson. We see Tyler Hudson leaving pit road, and a number of others. So wholesale pit stops for those towards the tail of the field, Joe.
And not a bad move, because when you're at the tail of the field like that, you really have absolutely nothing to lose. At that juncture, you just got to roll the dice, put the best equipment you can on your car, and hope for the best. And that's exactly what everyone in the back is going to be doing right this moment. They're going to keep them all, put them all on the car, try to get the car moving in the right direction, and hope that having those brand new sticker tires and maybe a little bit of fuel for ballast is going to help them continue to move their car forward. Because when you're at the back of the pack, why not?
So the top 5 have been that way for about 50 laps or so, or within the top 5. Kenny Humpy's obviously been leading. Ray Alfala, Patrick Crabtree have swapped second and third a couple of times. And then you go back to Ryan Lowe and Taylor Hurst in 4th and 5th place. It seems like those guys have been the guys at the front of the field and really tough to beat at this point, Tony. But if there's anybody outside the top 5, who are you seeing possibly coming through this field that might very well have something here, albeit Humpy is strong, at least for maybe a top 5 run here when it comes down to the checkered flag?
I think a couple of the guys you have to look at include the number 26 of Chad Lawton. He is in 9th, started 13th, 6th fastest in the final practice, so he's got speed. He's had good runs this year, picked up a win for that matter just 2 weeks ago, but hasn't quite been at the front tonight the way he wants. I think Lawton and maybe even Justin Bolton. Remember, Bolton got hung out on the outside a restart or 2 ago, lost a number of spots, but I think he has got some speed in his car. And another guy to keep an eye on, maybe a little bit of a, I don't want to say a dark horse, but somebody that we haven't talked a lot about, Kevin King. Started 19th, he's up to 12th, slowly, methodically trying to keep the fenders on that number 29, and as part of the team, he knows, or the information is in his camp, so he knows what Kenny Humpy is running, as are the rest of his teammates. The question is, can he make that work to get towards the front of the field, as we've got 1 lap to go?
That is a very good question, and that's going to be determined by 2 things. Number 1, what does the rest of the field do? How does the rest of the field react to him? And number 2 to that, how many caution flags are we going to see between now and then? Because as we continue to run these caution laps, those tires get a little bit colder, the car gets a little bit less warmed up, and the driver has to pace himself a little bit more. Plus, it burns off valuable fuel that you would normally run during a race. So, lots of variables come into play, but I still believe, after everything we've seen here tonight, the biggest one in the last quarter of this race is going to be the caution flag.
Wow, that 58 of Humpy gets another great start. Green flag back out, Alfala to second, and we have a caution again.
Oh, trouble still. Kevin King is in the aftermath of this. Also, Chris Overland as well as Matt Busa in a secondary accident, all happening after the restart in turn number 1, but the initial accident started over here in turn number 4. Landon Harrison caught a piece of it, and it all started with Michael J. Johnson losing control, and he got bounced around like a pinball, and luckily only 2 or 3 other cars caught pieces of it. But man, Joe, that's just an odd spot for Michael J. Johnson to lose control of his race car. It's almost like there had to be some sort of outside influence on that machine. That's just odd.
Let the conspiracy theories begin. First incident involves the 39 of Michael J. Johnson, and I got a feeling on those colder tires I was just speaking of, he spun them a little too hard, too quick, and that's going to make it lose it, and he's going to go with the 09 of David Rattler, and he's going to collect the number 4 Plan B sales machine of Brian Day, and with it, it's going to collect, looks like the 89 machine of Landon Harrison. Yep, that is correct. So Landon Harrison's night is done as he gets stuck on the wall. And then there is a second wreck you mentioned involving the 29 of Kevin King and the 47 of Chris Overland as well.
At this point, Joe, they're checking up for the caution flag in the secondary wreck. Brad Mahar, Overland, the 29 of Kevin King. Those two make contact. Matt Busa gets in behind them. Chad Lawton just in front of them slowing up. But, Tony, they're in the hornet's nest. They're 3 wide trying to slow up for the caution flag. There's half the field behind them. And then everybody gets a little bit of bumper tag in between Kevin King and Chris Overland, probably getting the worst of that. They're going to get their positions back, I do believe, here. They are scored in 12th and 10th place, respectively, for King and Overland. But I'm not too sure that they might not have any suspension damage, depending where some of those cars did hit. But we'll see when we go green, because it looks like they're staying out.
Well, Tim, you can't pit right now. As long as the wheel is still straight and you think the car is somewhat close to what it was, you cannot pit. You've got good track position. You're inside the top 15, in some cases the top 10, with less than 50 to go when we go green. There are 34 cars on the lead lap. You do not want to give up 20 spots with less than 50 laps to go. It's just stupid in all reality. So they're going to try to soldier it out, pray for some yellows, or at least pray those cars aren't bent up that badly to where they can at least hang on. Not a good situation to be in, though, for Busa, King, Overland, and all those who caught a piece in the secondary accident.
No, not at all. Though the consolation for them is that being a short track, we're going to be in a good place for them to catch up, because aerodynamics don't matter as much. I didn't say they didn't matter at all. I said they didn't matter as much. So you can have a bent up car. You can have a little bit of bent up sheet metal or dinged up sheet metal out there. But guess what? It's going to be okay, because you can still, you're not going to be caught up by the big air tunnel, the big air balloon, if you will. Parachute, that's what I was looking for, parachute, if you will. Instead, you're going to be able to stay competitive, and you're going to be able to keep up with everybody out there.
We have 50 laps to go right here as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. The 58 of Kenny Humpy, your leader. Ray Alfala in second. Ryan Lowe, Patrick Crabtree, Cody Bias, your top 5 through that. Looks like Bias got into the top 5 through all that little fracas. Taylor Hurst back to 6th. Justin Bolton, PJ Sturgis, Chad Lawton, and Chris Overland in a 10th. Brad Mahar, Kevin King just outside of the top 10. As we are getting ready to head back to the green, Kenny Humpy has controlled and dominated these restarts this evening. And Tony, we'll see if he can get one more here.
This one might be just as important as any restart he has made all night long. Ray Alfala is going to be on the outside of Kenny Humpy, and he's got Ryan Lowe, Patrick Crabtree, Cody Bias, and others in tow. Green flag is out. 49 laps to go here at Richmond. And look at him fan out into turn number 1 to the bottom. Goes Patrick Crabtree underneath of Ryan Lowe. Going to try to make quick work. They'll make contact off turn number 2. Each one able to keep going. Low inherits the 3rd spot as now Crabtree is determined to work his way in trouble.
On the track.
Overland is around.
Machine. Chris Overland goes around right in the middle of the pack. 2 of Alex Warren makes contact with him as well, and that's going to bring out the caution flag one more time. The 47 machine of Warren right in the middle of the hornet's nest, as we often say. Well, he just got stung by a hornet named Brad Mahar, as he will pit maneuver him, effectively spin him out. Schoenberg goes sideways. Alex Warren makes contact. 3 cars directly involved, but a bunch of other cars indirectly involved, as guess what? My good friend, the yellow flag, back on the track.
Man, Schoenberg can't catch a break. The 21 of Alan Bowes, it looks like used the 55 as a little bit of a brake pedal and slammed into the back end of the number 55. The 82 of Alex Warren, as you mentioned, Joe, gets a little piece of the 47 of Overland as he was stopped in the middle of the racetrack. But, man, Schoenberg cannot catch a break.
No, Tim, he really can't. And that's kind of what happens. You get mired back there in the middle of the squirrels, as a lot of people call them. And guess what? You find nothing but nutshells when that happens. And Schoenberg is kind of in the same boat again from what he was earlier. And it just, once you get back there, it's almost like it piles on. If you can get out of the back of one of these fields at a short track, then you've done something. And Joe, it's not that these guys are horrible drivers. It's, in fact, just the opposite. All these teams and drivers know they are world-class competition and world-class competitors. They know they're not a 30th place driver. They know they're a top 10 driver, and that's what makes it so frustrating, and that's why they take so many chances and get so aggressive, is the ego of all these drivers says, I don't belong here. I need to be up there, and dude, you're in my way. Problem is, there's 42 others that feel the exact same way.
Well, you got a point there, and with so much good competition, it's hard to be the best when you're fighting against the best. But with that being said, the cream will rise to the top, and right now it's hard to argue with Kenny Humpy being the cream of the crop. Ray Alfalo, Ryan Lowe, Patrick Crabtree, Taylor Hurst, all up there with him as well, and Cody Bias joining the mix from position number 6. So even with this continued caution flag with less than 50 laps to go, we've still got a lot of great drivers who still want to do a lot of great racing here in Richmond.
One thing we did see off that restart is a lot of guys, even up in the front, Tony, not give a whole lot of room and take a little bit, even though we still have the better part of 50 laps to go. We're working at 45 to go now. You had the 15 of Patrick Crabtree and the 38 of Ryan Lowe. Lowe not giving Crabtree a whole lot of room. And yes, Patrick Crabtree is up near the front of this series. He has a lot of stout finishes this year, led the points, as we mentioned. Ryan Lowe has been almost on the opposite end of the coin when it comes to that. Looking down the top 20 in points, and I don't see him in the top 20 in points right now. Ryan is due for a good run, but it looks like he's doing whatever it takes right now to get up there and have that good run and preserve it.
And I can't blame him, Tim. I mean, that's what you live for when you run this series. You have to have these good runs, and sometimes all it takes is just one to reassert your confidence and say, hey, I really do know how to get the job done at this level. And in the case of Ryan Lowe, that's something he's trying for tonight, as he's currently being scored in 3rd spot with 1 lap to go. We're going to be going green on lap, 157 complete. So there will be 43 circuits remaining, just a touch over 30 miles. This is a sprint, a typical Tuesday night short track shootout. Kenny Humpy and Ray Alfalo are going to restart on the front row.
Guys, it's starting to look a little more and more like a late model race out there, but I don't think that's a bad thing as we get ready to go back to green flag racing one more time. Get ready to do it Saturday night style here at Richmond as the base car makes a hard left turn down pit road, and Humpy once again leads into the green flag, now almost 3 wide and almost an incident going into turns 1 and 2.
Cool, that was close with Crabtree, Lowe, Ray Alfalo. Here comes Taylor Hurst on the inside of the 15. Hurst trying to make his move on Crabtree. Crabtree going to clear him down into corner number 3 and work on that 38 of Ryan Lowe. And here comes Sturgis. Here comes Chad Lawton. Here comes Brad Mahar on the inside, the 27. Almost gives a little bump to his teammate in the 26. It's getting racy back here outside the top 5.
4 wide into turn number 1, and somehow they funneled it down to just double file before they got to the corner. How in the world did that happen or not cause a major incident? I don't think we'll ever know, but that is the intensity that's in the middle of this field here at Richmond now with 41 laps to go. There goes Cody Bias on the bottom now trying to work his way forward. Also, Brad Mahar there in the middle of it. Justin Bolton has made his way back to the bottom. Now is the time to take. You've given all race, it's all about take.
Yep, now is, if you're going to take the position, now is the time to take it and not even think twice. 3 wide once again around the 34 of Busa, the 83 machine, and the 05 of Ottinger in front of them. Brad Mahar, Kevin King doing business, trying to get to more position. Brad Mahar will surrender the 10th position to Kevin King, this time by, and now more trouble up front.
15 car up 1 around the 38 of Ryan Lowe. We'll see if Ryan remembered that contact a little while ago, or if that is water under the bridge. The 74 of Hurst, the 57 of Sturgis, the 26 of Chad Lawton also in this freight train. And it looks like Crabtree does have the faster car compared to the battle behind him. In P3, he will begin to pull away a little bit and chase down Ray Alfalo and Kenny Humpy, and will leave the 38, 74, 57, and 26 to battle for position number 4.
And Tim, I'm starting to see, as I gaze back throughout the field, a lot more aggression being taken out. The guys that normally would just let the car roll to the center an extra car length and then pick up the gas, keep from running into the guy in front of them. No more. They're picking up the gas. They're giving him a shot in the shorts and saying, dude, get out of my way, or I'm going to move you out of the way. I've got places to be and positions to see. And that's one of the things that we know as this race unfolds, we're going to see more and more of, because as the field spreads out, you get more desperate. The best time to pass cars is when they're all close together and bunched up like they are now. 35 laps to go this time, and they're still chasing Kenny Humpy, but I think Ray Alfalla and Patrick Crabtree might be locking in the missiles on to Kenny Humpy.
And now we start to see what those cars have to answer to Kenny Humpy's dominance all night long. Technically, Kenny Humpy is led pole to pole. Ray Alfalla and Patrick Crabtree, though, want to lead the most important lap on the field here at Richmond. Ryan Lowe, Taylor Hurst, PJ Sturgis, all kind of trying to figure out what they want to do. And now Sturgis starting to get a little racy, trying to get around the 74.
Yeah, 74 Taylor Hurst was up on the back bumper of the 38. 57 took the opportunity to go down low in the 74 and will make one position and move himself into the top 5. Gives Ryan Lowe a little bit of breathing room. And Tony, I think Chad Lawton's waiting for something to happen here, because he's been laying in wait with these top 3, swapping these positions, and now the 26 and the B&H Fresh number 26 waiting to pounce. He's got his teammates of Bias and Bolton behind them as they work lap number 168 down the back straightaway. Continues to be Kenny Humpy out in front, but this battle for 4th continues to be entertaining.
It's very entertaining. In fact, it's one of the best battles on the entire racetrack, all occurring just past a second behind the leader, Kenny Humpy. And give a call to DJ Sturgis. Started in the top 10 in 10th spot. Doesn't always have these stellar runs unless sometimes he gets a little lucky, but he has been fast, solid, and a contender all night long on that NX Chevrolet. So PJ Sturgis carrying the flag, if you will, for the Sturgis family. Good run for him. And for that matter, Jake Sturgis, the 41 NX car, he is also inside the top 20 in 19th. Good to see short tracks do what they often do in reality, which is bring the guys that don't have the greatest speedway programs up to the front, where it becomes more of a driver's track than a setup track, and that seems to be the case tonight for PJ Sturgis.
Definitely the case tonight for PJ Sturgis, and good to see him having a great run. But Kenny Humpy, you can't argue with the setup he's got under his car. Last time around, he picked up an extra 1/10 of a second over Ray Alfalla. Right now, the gap between them is 7/10 of a second. This time around, it should be a little bit more. This time around, yes, it will be another 1/10 of a second. So Humpy's starting to run away from Ray Alfalla and Patrick Crabtree in a hurry. The battle now maybe for position number 2 as we close in on 25 to go.
3 car, a Brandon Schmidt blowing up in the middle of turns number 1 and 2. He will pull it down into the apron area, into the infield. We should stay green. It sparked a battle between the 33 and the 24. Blackford all over the racetrack and nearly blocks the 66 down to the apron. Blackford on the outside of Burmeister. Sturgis, a 28, also battling for that position. And Tony, one little blown motor by Brandon Schmidt almost gave us another big wreck and almost gave us a caution.
Yeah, Tim, you're so wide open. You expect these cars in front of you just to go whenever you push the pedal, and when they don't, especially if you're immediately behind the guy, you have to think for a second. You're on the gas and you check up, and then it creates an accordion effect behind you, and quite often we do see a wreck 5, 6, 8 cars behind the initial reaction to the incident. Luckily that time we did not, although we almost saw one is reaction to the racing that was created by the incident. Brian Blackford not having the greatest of weeks when it comes to trying to hold his position. A few times he's been caught in precarious spots here, Texas, Auto Club, and otherwise, but no harm, no foul. Blackford will continue in that Slip Angle Motorsports Ford in the 18th spot as we are just inside home free. Home stretch, guys. 25 laps to go.
And if you're going to make a move, now is the time to make it here at Richmond International Raceway as we get ready to continue green flag racing. Humpy still up front, now a second over Ray Alfalla, a second and a half over Patrick Crabtree. So unless we see another crazy caution at the end, which is definitely possible, 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much a lock. Ryan Lowe hoping to break in the top 5. PJ Sturgis hoping to keep his top 5. Taylor Hurst, Chad Lawton, Cody Bias, Justin Bolton, Nick Ottinger won't defend his win here for the 3rd year in a row as he's quagmired all the way back in 10th in that green Toyota. And the rest of the field at this point look like they're just running laps. They need a call. It's in the back of the field praying for a caution flag. Front of the field saying, could use not happen right now.
Oh, there it
And
is, Joe.
It is. Caution flag out once again on the field. And guys, I'm trying to find where this caution flag originated from or where it came from, but I'm not seeing what exactly brought the caution flag. Are you guys seeing it out there?
28 and 11 we're being told bringing out the caution flag, and that's right around that area that was with the blown engine. And it looks like the 28 of Casey Tucker, the 11 of Brad Davies. It looks like the 11 may have gone in, Tony, a little too hot. Tried to get on the binders, sent the 28 for a half spin, which would have triggered the caution flag on this go around. And that's a tough break for those two, but they'll pretty much keep their positions. They kept control of their race cars as the sim thought that was good enough to bring out the caution flag here, and that's around 20th place or so where that happens. So keep an eye on those guys as we go back to green flag racing the next time. But that was right around that hornet's nest where everything was happening. We're going to step away for just a few moments time, and we'll bring you back to the finish of round number 5 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about.
Ah!
You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Welcome back to Richmond, closing in on the finish of round number 5 of 16 on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. And as we get closer to the end, gentlemen, let's take a look forward. Coming up next week on iRacing night, it's the NASCAR iRacing Class B Open Series, and we're headed to Talladega. You don't think it gets any better than that? Then we head with the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series in 2 weeks. We head to Pocono. That's John Adams' former wheelhouse. John Adams isn't a part of the series anymore, but he used to win there a lot when we went there. It suits a guy like Chris Overland. It suits a guy like Kenny Humpy. It suits a guy that loves those big, wide, fast racetracks, unique racetracks. Pocono Raceway, 2 weeks, NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Mark your calendar. It's going to be a good one.
Always is when we go to the Tricky Triangle, Tim. Very unique racetrack, and it leads to some very unique styles of racing. I'll be happy to be part of that one. We normally run Pocono in the summer, and I'm in the middle of the Bojangles Summer Shootout at Charlotte Motor Speedway on those Tuesday nights, so it'll be cool to call a race at Pocono with you guys. It's been quite a while since we've done so, Joe.
Yes, it has been, and we'll certainly be glad to have you on the broadcast team. Meanwhile, we got another triangle, or D-shaped oval, I should say, to finish here at Richmond as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. Can Kenny Humpy beat either own? Only one way to find out, guys.
Here we go. 183 completed here. 17 to go. Green flag flies. Watch Crabtree to the inside of the 2 of Ray Alfala as he looks to the inside of the Vision of Flight Ford. Alfala going to try to slam the door here low in 4th as the 15 is there on the 2. The 57-74 side by side behind them.
Oh, the heat in the kitchen's picking up. Somebody grab the thermometer because it is getting out of range. Crabtree up to 2nd. Alfala back to 3rd. Here comes Ryan Lowe trying to stick his nose in the middle of it as well. Same with PJ Sturgis, and Alfala giving it one heck of a fight on the outside. The gloves are off. Alfala is scratching and clawing, trying to stay on the podium as they work off turn 4, 15 circuits remaining.
Forget the thermometer, grab the frying pan, because you're going to need it to fight your way out of this kitchen as Lowe and Alfala continue to battle for that 4th position. The 38 of Ryan Lowe not giving the two an inch, and the outside not the place to be at Richmond. Still side by side through 3 and 4. Alfala continues to fight.
38 to the inside, the 2 of Alfala to the outside. Sturgis trying to come through this
Trouble,
battle as
front
well.
straightaway. Tyler Hudson's on the outside wall. He had a little bit of help from the 83 of Thomas Davis, but somehow will stay green, guys. That was an accident trying to happen for 3 laps. It looks like they finally got it all sorted out.
They got it sorted out, and we will remain green flag as they continue to run. Now single file through the field. Kenny Humpy still up front. Patrick Crabtree second. It's going to be Lowe in 3rd. Alfala 4th. PJ Sturgis 5th. If you're going to start making some passes, guys, now's the time to do it.
Ryan Lowe has moved his way to position number 3. Gentlemen, that has to be the story of the race so far. 2 of Alfala. He's got a 2-time champion behind him in position number 4. And just in front of them, Patrick Crabtree beginning to run down Kenny Humpy. It is go time. 11 laps to go, this time by the stripe. And Taylor Hurst, the 27 of Cody Bias. Hurst almost gives the 27 a shot going into turn 3.
They are nose to tail, tight as tight can be, and up front, Crabtree is a good half-tenth a lap faster than Kenny Humpy. Could Patrick Crabtree have played this hand perfectly? Chips on the table, every card is down, and he knows what he's got in his hands. He continues to close on Kenny Humpy. 10 laps to go. Kenny Humpy, the most pressure he has felt all night, now being applied by Patrick Crabtree.
Crabtree doing everything he can to try to wrestle this race away with 10 laps to go. Kenny Humpy, though, will have none of it. Closest gap between 1st and 2nd so far right now, 0.3 of a second. Yellow flag out.
Trouble on the speedway to bring out another caution. It's in turn number 1 and 2, and it is the Rob Ackley number 22 machine that has brought out the yellow flag. And he had a little bit of help. Schoenberg and Thomas Davis get into it in front of him, and I believe Danny Hansen may have got into the 22 as they were checking up. But Tony, that started once again with the 55 car and the 83, and it looks like you can be the judge on that.
Yeah, Schoenberg just kind of started going down the middle of the front straightaway, and then poor Thomas Davis, he had been, well, quite frankly, to put it honestly, a rolling chicane during the last 10 laps. That car not up to speed and trying to get a little more than maybe he should have on Brian Schoenberg, hit the apron, bounced up into Schoenberg, and that just caused a chain reaction behind him, and Rob Ackley, the biggest loser of that one. Also, what that's going to mean is that Kenny Humpy and Patrick Crabtree are going to have about a 3 to 4 lap shootout to settle this. And Joe, Crabtree had been closing on Humpy at the rate of about a half a tenth per lap. Crabtree had to get around Ryan Lowe and Ray Alfala. He was able to do so and start reeling in Humpy. This restart will be the restart of a career for Patrick Crabtree. Remember Daytona? He was in a very similar situation. He got snookered by Ray Alfala, outdrafted, outrun, ended up in 2nd at Daytona. Here at Richmond, similar shape, but completely different racetrack and completely different circumstances. If I'm Patrick Crabtree, I do everything I can to jump the restart without jumping it, if that makes any sense at all.
Sure, we'll go with that. More importantly, guys, this is it. This is going to be the last chance at winning this race. This is going to be the last chance of finishing this race under the green flag. If we have another caution flag come out, they will cross the line, and that will be it. There is no overdrive finish in the iRacing Sim yet. There is no green-white checkered attempt in the iRacing Sim yet. So, if you're going to make a move, you've got exactly 5 laps to do it in, even less. I'd say the way things are running, maybe 2 or 3. So if you're going to make your move, make it early and make it quick.
Okay, Tony, you put yourself in Patrick Crabtree's shoes. I want you to put yourself in Kenny Humpy's shoes. When Kenny goes, or has been going on these last few restarts, he's been going pretty much when the pace car pulls off and when they hit those cones and hit those barrels at the end of pit road to really restart these races. If you're Kenny Humpy, do you wait a little bit and wait for that green flag to fly before you pull the trigger on this restart? Or do you risk it thinking that Patrick Crabtree may get that advantage and may very well win this race?
I think you risk it because here's what you have to remember. It's not up to a human being. It's up to the software, the way it's programmed. If the green flag comes out and Patrick Crabtree is ahead of you, Patrick Crabtree gets issued the black flag. So as the leader, you have every advantage and every incentive to mix up the restart. Any good driver who is phenomenal in restarts will tell you the key to being a king of the restarts is to mix it up and never let them know what's coming. Kenny Humpy will be wise to do just that. I'm not saying he has to brake check the field because that would be against the sporting code and might warrant a penalty, but he does need to mix it up just a little bit and do something a little different so that Patrick Crabtree gets caught looking this next time off turn 4. Guys, we'll come down to the stripe with 196 laps complete. 4 laps, 3 miles will settle it here at Richmond.
And that may sound like a lot, but it really isn't. When you get down to brass tacks, when everything comes down to the wire, like I said, you really only have 1 lap to make your move, and the rest is up to chance. Who feels lucky? Who feels like they've got the car to beat? And more importantly, does anybody feel like they've got the car that can beat the 58 of Kenny Humpy? We will find out as the pace car makes the hard left turn down pit road.
Restart of Crabtree's career, and you got to throw it into Ryan Lowe too. Green flag, Humpy's gone. The 15 of Patrick Crabtree comes down. The 38-57 playing a little bit of games behind them. 05 of Ottinger drives it in. They're 3 wide behind the leaders.
They're leaning on one another for 10th on back at Patrick Crabtree. He's seeing Ray Alfala's front bumper underneath of his left side door. Alfala now on the back bumper of Patrick Crabtree. This is the best news that Kenny Humpy can have as Chad Lawton goes for a ride. Caution is out. Sturgis is in it. 8 cars at least are in it. Ottinger is in it as well. Brian Blackford catches a piece of it. 5, 6 cars, they're still crashing in turn number 1. That will bring out the final caution of the night, and that means Kenny Humpy will have won his 3rd NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series race of this short season. What a year it's been for the Peak Antifreeze Chevy of Kenny Humpy.
Guys, let's go back to this incident, though, first real quick. That's going to end this race. It all starts with the 26 of Chad Lawton, and I'm not sure, my camera angle's not entirely clear where the checkup happened, though, and I think it happened with the 2 of Ray Alfala checking up with a 15 of Crabtree, and that's going to create a chain reaction with a 57, and everybody else going into the big one here at the front stretch of Richmond. At least a dozen cars involved in this incident to end the race. And what an incredible finish. 1 lap determined that entire race, guys. And that lap was exactly what Kenny Humpy needed to win number 3 on the season.
We mentioned there is 1 critical drop in this season in the first 12 races, and that might be the one that Chad Lawton will have to use. We're talking about Richmond International Raceway here because he's going to finish about 29th on this field. He came in 9 points behind Kenny Humpy. Ray Alfala going to gain some points, and Chris Overland had a tough night as well. He's back there outside the top 25. So that's going to really shake up the standings as we move forward to Pocono in 2 weeks' time. 1 lap to go, or a half lap, I guess, now to go. Crabtree is going to finish in 2nd. Alfala. And how about Ryan Lowe and Taylor Hurst? Top 5 for the 38, top 5 for the 74. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the 3rd checkered flag of 2015 for Kenny Humpy in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. The Peak Antifreeze car goes to victory lane at the Richmond International Raceway. Crabtree, Alfala, Lowe, Hurst, Bias, Bolton, Benjamin Burmeister, Matt Busa, and Kevin King, your top 10.
Wow, that's about all you can say. Kenny Humpy, 3 wins out of 5 races. He's batting .600 on the season. That is unprecedented in the history of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, to my recollection. This good, this often, this early. Kenny Humpy, wow, it's just amazing, Joe. There are not enough adjectives to describe the performance of the Ohio native Kenny Humpy so far this year.
Well, the Buckeyes won a national championship. Why can't Kenny Humpy do the exact same thing? The man from Ohio. And the man from Ohio wants to make it work out there. And, hey, you know what? 3 wins can't be wrong as Kenny Humpy is getting ready to burn them out here at Richmond International Raceway. If anybody's got a huge advantage now to their championship season, it's Kenny Humpy.
And we will chat with Kenny Humpy and the rest of your top 5 in just a few moments' time. He pulls it into victory lane at Richmond International Raceway. We'll talk to driver 58 and the rest of the top 5 in our post-race show. Don't go away.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, has officially begun.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Welcome back to Richmond International Raceway, tonight's iRacing live broadcast of the Richmond 200 for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Tony Stevens, Joe Cortez, Tim Terry is down to victory lane with Kenny Humpy, and wow, what a race we saw, Joe. It was a Kenny Humpy benefit, quite frankly.
Oh, absolutely it was. Kenny Humpy, the most dominant driver out there, led nearly every single lap out there. A race well-earned for Kenny Humpy. And if this is any indication of what we're going to see, it's not going to be terribly long, Tony, but we see the I'm Kenny Humpy, boom, confetti commercial. Give it time.
You know what?
Give it time. It's going to happen.
You know what? If Lowe's hadn't already done that, I'm sure the Peak people would be on that. I got a feeling the Peak people will get on something. Hey, when you peak, you win. New sponsor for Kenny Humpy.
Yeah,
he ends up in victory
that.
lane, and he gets to talk to our Tim Terry. Tim?
For a third time this season, driver number 58, Kenny Humpy, pulls in to victory lane. We're waiting for Kenny Humpy to get out of that virtual race car. There he is, Kenny Humpy, your winner for the third time this season. That was wild at the end of it.
Oh, yeah, totally wild. But first off, I got to say my thoughts and prayers are to Steve Burns and his whole family for what happened, man. It's a sad story, but, you know, it kind of sucks to have to race, you know, whenever all that happens. But, no, the Peak Chevy tonight, man, it was on rails. Really exciting finish with the Crabtree just coming from nowhere, it seemed like. He had a really fast long-run car there. And having to stay out there in that long run and not being able to pit, it kind of hurt me, I think. I think he was a lot better on the long run, but we were able to get that lucky caution there at the end, because I think without it, he probably would have been able to get by me. But we'll take the win, and just really proud of this whole team, man. We're just on a roll that I don't even know where it's coming from, but you know, we're enjoying it.
Now, when you look at that last little run, Patrick Crabtree closing in, the restart was hectic behind. What were you thinking of that restart with 4 laps to go? Where you were going to go? Were you going to switch it up? What were you thinking on that restart?
Yeah, I'd been going pretty much the same point every restart, because I mean, here, you know, there's such an advantage to being on the inside line, and that's, you know, just having that inside line, I could go, you know, at the same spot pretty much every time, and there was nothing that the second place car could do. And that's why that caution was so critical there with that last one, to be able to keep that inside and, you know, just get that jump. And I figured that Ray and those guys would be racing really hard, trying to get position on them, but you know, we were able to squeak away a win.
Let's talk about this new partnership with Peak. I know that's big for you and the team. Can we continue the momentum and roll it on in 2 weeks when we pull into Pocono and get your 4th win of the season?
Oh man, I mean it'd be nice, but I'm being realistic about it, man. I can't even believe we won 3 out of the 5 races, to be honest with you, and have them come on board with Peak and all those guys over there. That they're an awesome group of guys, and they do a lot for the series. You know, they're sponsoring 3 of us now, and you know it's pretty cool what they're doing. They're definitely you know, putting our whole I guess you want to call it like an e-sport on a whole different level, and they're doing an awesome job. Proud to be able to represent them. I mean, that's awesome that I got selected as one of the 3 in the whole series, and you know, hopefully we can keep the momentum up for those guys while they're on board the car, and you know, we'll just keep trying to win them. I don't know what will be at Pocono, but you know, we'll hopefully come with a fast car and be able to compete.
And that's Kenny Humpy, your winner here this evening. And Tony, we're going to have to check with the officials with the little scoring issue that we had. Kenny Humpy is scored as 194 laps led. Levy led all 200 without that scoring glitch. I had 185 laps on the team giveaway. I'm going to go talk to Kevin King and see if I can get a free hat while you interview Patrick Crabtree.
That sounds like a plan, Tim. Although I don't think commentators are eligible for prizes from the teams. Nonetheless, we'll let you consider that with your ethics board. Just giving you a hard time, bud. But no, Kenny Humpy did dominate the race. The guy that had the best shot of dethroning him late was Patrick Crabtree. And Patrick, how much did that last caution hurt you?
Yeah, that caution with 10 to go was kind of a pain because I felt like I was catching Kenny a little bit. Might have had something for him. But he's always been the class of the field. He's like an excellent driver. So it's not a surprise that he won the race. The race was good, you know, long green flag runs, and then you kind of expect the cautions there to the end. And yeah, car was great. It's just the cautions kind of bit us there a little bit.
And one thing, Patrick, I know that this is a different race compared to what you're going to have next week, but you had a great run at Daytona. You were top of the points for a couple of weeks, and you weren't really out of it, but you were not maybe top 3 for a couple of races, and now we go to a completely different racetrack again. How good is your team, the high-performance guys, going to be going to Pocono? Looking at Twitter and looking at some of the team communications, it seems like, or at least it sounds like, you guys might have hit on something underneath the car, some sort of combination. Do you think that's going to translate now to these future races to where maybe you can be one of the guys trying to dethrone Humpy from the front of the field?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't really know much about that setup stuff, but I hope to God it does, definitely. And, you know, futures in the season, hope to just run good. And the 2nd place was awesome. Be great for the points. It kind of hurt us in Auto Club getting stuck in that big old wreck, but it was great points day. The HPM guys have been working their tails off. We put in so many hours this week, and I'm really flattered that we finally got a good finishing spot there.
That is Patrick Crabtree. He finishes 2nd here tonight. A little frustrated, as we heard of at the very outset of the interview. Apologize for that, but Joe Cortez, the guy finishing 3rd, I'm sure apologizes for maybe being involved in that last wreck. It was pretty hairy out there in the last caution flag.
Looking for his 2nd win on the season, looking for his 2nd win here at Richmond, but not going to be so for Ray Alfalla, finishing 3rd.
Like your own.
But Ray Alfalla, not a bad night for you overall. 3rd isn't the worst place to finish out there.
No, it's pretty uneventful for Richmond, I guess. First, I got to say rest in peace to Steve Burns. You know, I basically saw him on TV ever since I started watching NASCAR, so that's really sad. So rest in peace to him. And yeah, the vision of Flight Forward was pretty good. Couldn't really keep up with Kenny. I was racing for 2nd there with Patrick, pretty much the entire 2nd half of the race, and kind of got shuffled to the back, restarting high at the end, and was able to kind of get back to 3rd there and almost got 2nd. So it could have been a lot worse.
Richmond is, like many short tracks, is a race of track position. If you could have had a little bit of track position at the end, would it have been a 2nd place finish for the number 2 Vision of Flight Forward, or maybe even a 1st?
I don't know about a 1st. The leader has a huge advantage on a restart, and Kenny was the fastest anyway, so it was his race to lose. But that restart where I got shuffled to the back, I had Patrick cleared by about an inch, but I figured if I cut low, we could hook bumpers and both wreck, or if I got right in front of him, it could obstruct his vision and he might get into me in turn one. So I figured, whatever, I'll try to make the high side work. And it didn't really work, and I went back to fourth, and then the yellow came out, which I wasn't happy about because I was again in the even spot. But Ryan got a pretty bad restart, and I was able to get there and almost got to second at the end. But not pretty good results.
Ray, next 2 weeks' time, we go to Pocono. You won there in 2013. Are you going to be able to win there in 2015?
Sure. I don't see why not. Got to thank everybody at Lastro and Slip Angle and Joey Brown for all their help. We're making progress. Tonight, Kenny was the class of the field, but we're now we're now contending top 5 pretty much every week, which is all you can ask for.
Ray Alfala, the number 2 machine, finishing third tonight. Tony Stevens caught up with our 4th place finisher, Ryan Lowe.
With Ryan Lowe, and Ryan, we haven't really had a chance to talk to you much at all this year, and I guess that means that it's a good thing when we have a chance to talk to you, since we haven't had a chance to talk to you very much at all this year. What kind of momentum does this give for you in the 38 bunch going into Pocono in the next few races?
I would say great. It gives us great momentum. I mean, we had a pretty good night. Car was pretty on point, and on top of everything, it's just really difficult to make each race. Saying most of the guys have a DWC license, I got a pro, so the major thing for Pocono is to just qualify there and then hopefully be in the race, and it'll take off from there and hopefully have another great run.
Pocono, I'm sure, like you said, you want to hope to have a great run. And this is the kind of race that does it for you, especially with the way you guys are mixing it up in the middle of the field, left and right and front to back and bumper tagging the whole deal. The last few restarts, I know, the last few runs for that matter, had to be pretty hairy for you. Can you walk us through and tell us what you were thinking those final few restarts and final few runs? Because it looked like at any moment somebody was about to get sent on some sort of ride.
Yeah, it was definitely crazy at the end of the race there. Every restart we took, I was either in the mindset of getting the best restart I could, and on top of that, I was working deals to just get let down going into one or let people down and let them have at it for the win. I was just there for the top 5 run, honestly. Just a nice point stay, no incidents. Everyone's happy.
And it sounds like you're happy too. That's Ryan Lowe. He finishes 4th here tonight at Richmond. I believe Tim Terry is standing by with our 5th place driver, and that would be Taylor Hurst. Tim?
Finishing in position number 5 this evening is car number 74 of Taylor Hurst. And Taylor, let's talk about this run, because I know you started in 5th, you finished in 5th, but those last couple of restarts especially, it seemed like you were bounced back and forth inside and outside the top 5.
Yeah, man. I really couldn't do nothing the whole race. Pretty even with the guys in front of us, except for Kenny, of course, man. He's just gone, but had a solid car tonight thanks to air precision and fast lane.
Let's talk about the green flag run that we had at the start and then the rash of cautions. When you set up for this race strategy-wise, did you bank on getting a lot of green flag running at the first and then some cautions, or did you guys plan it out that way, short run, long run? It worked out for you in the end?
Honestly, we hoped on it going green the whole time. Had a really, really good long run car there. After 50 laps or so, it really started to come in. But it still played out all right, We had a decent short run car, really good long run car. Can't be any happier than 5th.
And at the end of the day, unofficially, you're going to move into position number 17 in the point standings. Is this the race that the momentum really turns around here for you?
I surely hope so. Had some really bad luck starting Daytona and all, and I got a good bunch of supporters behind me to keep me going.
And is the momentum going to continue next week or 2 weeks' time at Pocono?
Yeah, I really like Pocono. Flat track. Not really a big fan of big tracks, but I've had some luck there in the past, so.
And there's Taylor Hurst coming home in position number 5. What a great run for this number 74 car. We'll hope to see him and talk to him again in 2 weeks' time at the Pocono Raceway. Kevin King finishes in position number 10, but Kevin King is not here to talk about it. Well, you might be here to talk about your run. How was your race?
Yeah, don't take that away from me. The race is good. I mean, I didn't have a very good qualifying effort. I was struggling, and unfortunately, it put me back in the middle, and it was so hard to pass. Like, even if, you had to be a good 10th on someone in front of you to be able to make any moves, and I was just kind of stuck there with Chad. We didn't really get to go anywhere, but it got really tight. It was really good for about 40 laps, and it got really, really tight for no real reason, and I lost the speed that I had, and thankfully the cautions seemed to come out a little bit after that, but it was just all about track position. If you didn't have it, you're just going to be stuck where you're at unless you were flying around the racetrack. And there were some guys behind me that were able to do that, but for the most part, we're all pretty even, and it's kind of nice to have a decent finish out of a frustrating race for the most part. But it happens.
Now, you're 8th place in points, but I know you're not here to talk about 8th place in points. You're here to talk about the team and the brand new hot commodities that you guys have.
Yeah, so we did a little giveaway deal that I have a few hats left over from the initial batch that I did, and I've had some people saying they wanted one and whatnot, and I wanted to just kind of make it kind of fun to see, hey, how can we have people follow what we do and get people interested in the race a little bit more, I guess, and give some away. And so I just did a whole, actually my wife's idea to see, hey, how many laps do you guys lead? And it wasn't anything to say, hey, we're so much better than everybody else, but I mean, it could have been 1 lap to 0 laps or 500 laps. It doesn't really matter. It's all a numbers game at that point. So hopefully everyone took it that way, and not so much that we're trying to pound our chest. We just wanted to have a fun little deal. But the winner, apparently, of all people, it looks like it's Tim Terry. I mean, you had 185 laps led and 25 cars on the lead lap, which was a tiebreaker, which didn't matter. And Kenny basically led the entire race except for the last section there. So you were the closest, which is very strange, but I'll be able to send you a hat, and so hopefully you enjoy that. And then we're figuring out some ways to give some more away. So if anyone has any ideas, we just started a Facebook page that you can like, and we have a Twitter. Give us some ideas to make it more interesting, and we'll give some more away. But congratulations to you, bud.
And before we let you go, how can they follow you on Facebook and Twitter? What are the usernames for those 2 social media platforms?
So Twitter is a little goofy, but it's really the only thing that's available. But it's at the team, kind of like iRacing, but the team. And then Facebook, which is just called The Team. Hopefully we have some more people joining. I basically started at work while I was bored, and get some people to follow that. We'll have a lot of our stuff will go through there, and likewise will follow itself on Twitter as well, kind of in-race reports and all that good stuff. So yeah, give us a follow. We'll have a lot of cool stuff. Hopefully I got some more plans. Just try to make it more fun, man. Everyone on the team does so much and spends so much time. It's nice to have the guys around that are able to make it fun, and so I'm just trying to do what I can to make it fun for everyone else, not only us. So if people are into it, then that's cool with us, and we'll think about some more cool stuff to get to give away.
And that's Kevin King from the team. And once again, Tony, they end up in victory lane this evening with Kenny Humpy. And it wasn't a race where we saw the team dominate per se. Kenny Humpy was up in front, but we saw some more names at the front that we're not used to seeing. Yes, Patrick Crabtree ran well at Daytona, comes back and solidifies the second place finish here. Ray Alfala has been good all season long, finishes in 3rd. But I think when we look back on this race, it's going to be the story of Ryan Lowe and Taylor Hurst, 2 names that really come back and take top 5 finishes away from some of these other drivers that we're used to seeing in the top 5. A Cody Bias, a Justin Bolton, Kevin King, list goes on and on. Great to see those guys in the top 5, and we'll have to see if they can repeat in 2 weeks' time when we hit the Pocono Raceway, because that race, Tony, is you mentioned a couple of times that you haven't been to a couple of these Pocono races, but they tend to bring out different names in victory lane. The Chris Overlands, the John Adams of the series gone by that really get into victory lane. Could we see Ryan Lowe or maybe a Taylor Hurst get their first victory in the series, or a Cody Bias or a Justin Bolton get their first win in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series powered by iRacing? I think if there's any racetrack that's going to do so, 2 weeks at Pocono might very well be that venue.
It very well could be, Tim. It's hard to say how it's all going to play out. Pocono is a very unique racetrack, Joe, as you're very well aware of the way it's been the last few years. But I think the biggest thing, no matter where we go, Tim and Joe, is going to be Kenny Humpy. Can anybody beat Kenny Humpy? The only person we've really seen do it, well, yeah, Ray Alfalla did it at Daytona, but that doesn't really count. It's a super speedway, different style of racing. You're much more subject to the luck and the fortune or moves of others. So excluding Daytona, the only person and the only time Kenny Humpy has been beat has been by his own teammate, Chad Lawton, at California and at Auto Club Speedway. Or check that. That was, 1 week ago at Texas. He raced Chad Lawton at Auto Club. I'll get him straight here in just a second. But at Auto Club Speedway, Humpy won. At Vegas, Humpy won. He's won here at Richmond. The only time he's been beaten is by Chad Lawton, and that was at Texas, and Kenny Humpy was right there in the middle of it as well. So can anybody unseat Kenny Humpy in the team, Joe? At this point, I don't see it being done.
I hate to break this to you, Tony Stevens, but Kenny Humpy is very much mortal. Now, the good news for him is he's got a huge advantage in the team. They are the team to beat right now. They are the most dominant force in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. You would totally agree with me in that respect, Tony. That being said, though, we're also entering a very technical part of our schedule. Next 2 weeks' time, it's Pocono, followed by Charlotte, which is a track you're very familiar with, and you know that Charlotte is anything but cookie cutter in its setup and the way he will run it. So we're going into a very technical part of the season, and the only thing certain at this point is there's nothing certain. Now, granted, Kenny Humpy has a huge advantage going in with those 3 wins, but Pocono, being a strange track, can give way to strange victors. And it wouldn't surprise me if you don't see him in victory lane in 2 weeks' time. It wouldn't surprise me if you don't see him in victory lane in 4 weeks' time. Because those tracks are so specialized, it really opens the door for anybody. And Tony, I think we're really going to we're getting to the best part of the season where we're going to see the most competitive racing happen on the virtual tracks in the next 4 weeks.
I think you might be onto something there, Joe, no doubt. Obviously, the diversity of this schedule is something very impressive with Pocono, Charlotte. Coming up later in the season, we have a lot of different races as well. So it's going to be fun to see if the team's dominance can hold strong. I mean, we're basically a third of the way through the season now. 5 races complete. Kenny Humpy has won 3 of them. If he continues that trend, he's on pace to win 9 or 10 of the races this season. That's simply unprecedented, unheard of, and next to impossible with the caliber of competition you've got in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Simply amazing. There's really no other way to put it. So looking forward to Pocono, Joe. 2 weeks from now, 2.5-mile flat racetrack. Kenny Humpy's dominance excluded. What do you think we can look forward to?
A whole lot of good racing. The Pocono's a track that has a lot of wide racing, has a lot of very wide lines, and because it's so darn long, you're going to see a lot of very, very fast racing on the track. These guys will be breaking the 200-mile-per-hour limit on those gigantic stretches at Pocono. So you're going to see some very fast racing. It's going to be almost like super speedway racing, Tony, except the fact that it's not. Pardon me. It's not necessarily going to be that quick out there. But the good news is it is going to make for some very fun racing. It's going to make for some very competitive racing out there. And when the dust settles, Kenny Humpy, yes, has the advantage. But he's also got 42 other drivers he's got to compete with at the end of the day, and any one of them has the opportunity to win at Pocono.
We're certainly going to look forward to that and see exactly how it all plays out. Maybe it'll be Kenny Humpy in victory lane. Maybe it'll be somebody else. We'll find out in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget, 1 week from tonight, right here, iRacing Live and our simulcast partners, including MRN Radio, Fans Choice TV, the Peak Antifreeze website, as well as many others. It'll be iRacing night. The NASCAR Xfinity class, the B-Class series on iRacing, will be live right here on all these same sites. Same, as they say, same bat time and same bat channel. This time, same car time and same car channel. It'll be me, Joe Cortez, and Tim Terry, of course, bringing you the call. And that one is going to be just as fun as the last few have been, I am sure. On behalf of Tim Terry, Joe Cortez, the entire PSR TV and iRacing Live crew, want to send our congratulations to Kenny Humpy, our condolences to the Steve Burns family, and a big thank you to those of you tuning in tonight for Racing Live from Richmond, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Until next week, good night, everybody.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.